If you see me turn on, oh my God, Lisa Wyatt. Hi, Lisa. Welcome, sweetheart. So nice to see you. I need to know my balance. Can you purchase it? Well, okay. Well, we'll go in and look. Your balance sure to be there, Hope. I should have sent it to you, but can't do anything about it right now while we're on the live. So when we were fooling around with those neon colors and dropping them on the canvas, like that Paulina technique, there was some pretty cool. Hey, how you doing, Sparkle? Pretty cool effects with. Uh, so I was just dropping color on, right, and then tilting it back and forth. These purple spots was that wisteria dropped on with water. And then I just kind of moved it back and forth as it started to dry. And then I dropped some of the coral. And then some, this is such a crazy, this is that neon orange. Now, everybody's asking me about binding or not using a binder. I would feel better suggesting a binder. I realize we're just using a teaspoon of the Vivid Art fluid and water. Okay, only because if you start layering on top of each other, what if it starts to rub off? But I love the effect. What happened was when I was dropping the colors into each other, the effects that I got, and I want to do some watercolor pieces. It will be a little bit less work than mixing up painting and trying to stand up and do a swipe. So so many people's resistance to painting, brush painting, or doing watercolors is, well, they can't draw or they don't think they can draw. And when I attended in 2006 the Society of Decorative Painters conference, boy, did I get an eye opener on that, because it's a 7-hour class. Love to see you, Lisa. I'm so glad you're in here, honey. Just so glad to see you, really, truly. It's so nice. It's a 7-hour class, but they're not teaching you how to draw. The actual image is transferred with graphite paper and an image. Now, in a beginner class, she'll draw the image for you. In an intermediate class, you have to show up a half hour early, and part of your job is to take the transfer paper, graphite transfer paper, and transfer the image. So, for example, this is a little, and you could buy these packets from the artists at the shows. So the packet would give you a finished photograph, right? And then, actually, this looks like it's got white paper in here. It's got an image that you can lay on top of graphite paper. And all graphite paper is basically paper with pencil rubbed along the back, right? And so then you take the image, put it on top of the graphite paper, take a stylus tool, don't do anything sharp because you don't want to cut the paper, and you transfer an image. And then they'll all give you different things, like her image is copyrighted, you're not allowed to resell it, colors that she's recommending on the different sections. Then she gives you the instructions. And most of the artists there, as part of taking the class, you got a packet that came along with your class, and then they would sell extra ones. Okay, sorry for having that just a picture of the back, but they would sell extra packets. So this is also Earlene Paget. This was the class I took from her, and it was a hibiscus, but then I bought the extra pattern from her. And so the 7 hours is just learning how to get the paint to receive well to the water. Okay. Yeah, it'll work, but I don't know. I just, because when they dry up in the cups, Here, Victoria's asking what's the issue. Because when the color is drying up in that cup like this, when I'm just adding water to it and painting with it, there's still residue on the bottom, which means if you're layering, you could end up with residue. And the rule of thumb is all pigments need some kind of binder, even if it's a little bit Liquitex pouring medium in water or Vivid Art fluid in water, some kind of binder. And that little teaspoon in 4 ounces of water isn't much. It's just giving you a binder to make that color stick. Now, again, on those canvases that I tested it on, nothing rubbed off. Victoria's right, nothing rubbed off. But if I was to go more and more and really promote them as using for watercolor painting, I would somehow affix them. Okay. Now, today, there are also artists that you can buy these patterns from. Trying to think of what this lady's name was. It's Kelly's Kits, Carlin's Kits, $6.25. Now, I don't know if it's that much now, but the packet gave me the step outs, okay, instructions, pattern, photograph, reference photographs of where she got her idea from. And not only do they give you the pattern, but they at least send you one that's already transferred and ready to paint. They're pretty cool, these little patterns. And if we can find and this is good watercolor paper, by the way, it says arches on it, right? It's literally debossed or whatever that, you can see the signature right there. Yeah, Arches France. So she's using good paper. Let's see if we can figure out the company. Here's a different one from her. And I know I'm supposed to be able to tell you where these came from. Carolyn's Kits 2010. Here, it'll put that on there. So Carlin's, Karlyns Kit, Carlyn Holman is the one who's selling these sets. I actually did this piece, but I really overworked the background badly. So I wanted to see. Now, you also have an option. That other time when I introduced the twinkling H2Os, I had a little rose already printed out. And a friend of mine, Fred Mullet, God, he made a bunch of these for me years ago. He drew out a daisy, a calla lily, and a rose, and then ran them through the printer. And so, and then cut them up. And so I have a few of them, right, for practice. These are really handy for practice. They're really good for relaxing. You can take an image from Pinterest, transfer it right to your printer. This is a cheap student grade watercolor paper, but it's really good to practice on. And it's super relaxing, okay? Really, 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 really relaxing. So, which is what I'm going to try to do today after. This is, hi Maria, how you doing? Oh, Doug is here. Oh, actually, Victoria, all pigments, no matter what kind, should have some kind of binder. But if you're using acrylic, it's bound. If you're putting in resin, it's bound. If you're, there's already a binder in it, right? So, yeah, so this was the piece I did at my class. And then I came home and transferred the pattern, black and white. It's paintable. This is something, though, I would sit down and want to spend a few hours doing. Yes, the neons are, yeah, we have the neons up on the website right now, Lisa, and there's a pre-order event gift. Order before Tuesday after Memorial Day, and you get an extra bottle of Purley Pigments. The neon set is up for sale under the Purley Pigment section. So this was the one pattern when I duplicated this. And then here's another one. I already painted this one before, and a friend of mine ended up with I did it on some kind of flexible canvas on a roll. so she could stitch it into a quilt. I love this basket, but I don't know if I can stay relaxed long enough to just sit and paint in front of you guys, and sit quietly and paint, right? Or if it's even something you guys are interested in. We have some neons now, baby. Yeah, John will probably put a link up for you if it looks like he's trying to respond. Now, I took a class from Carolyn Nelson about her Icelandic poppies, and this is partially done, but you can see where I've partially transferred the poppies onto this. Now, I planned on doing, and I did my own graphite paper. See how the back of it's covered with pencil? So I just kind of rubbed pencil all over it and then took the pattern, get this taped right so I don't screw this up. The only thing I was going to do with this is add maybe 1 or 2 more blossoms. Yeah, I did it really old school. I made my own graphite rubbing, right? But again, this would be really pretty painted. I kind of wished I'd seen this a couple days ago because I could have put in like 1 more poppy, right? And I wouldn't feel quite as, painting on this canvas, I feel a little bit more comfortable than that really expensive Arches watercolor paper. Okay, so here's my surprise for you guys. This is a piece I started in 2006. So how many years ago is that? 6, 16, 26 would be 20 years. So 18 years ago, I did this 18 years ago. And I had come home from the show. Now I have it sat in just the right, and by the way, here's the pattern, a very big pattern. I bought it from Mariel Bean at the show. It's a huge pattern to be able to cover this board. And Frederick's Canvas has sent me some sample watercolor canvas panels that they were promoting 18 years ago. And so this is exactly how the pattern got transferred. This is that template. They can be had out there. And of course, with Pinterest, you can print anything off, but you can see, I wish I could say that I drew this. Oops, sorry. I wish I could say that I drew this by hand, but I did not. Sadly, I did not. Now, to me, this is a big undertaking, finishing the leaves in the front, but I found this in my other room, one of the storerooms, and pulled this out, and it's been sitting next to the refrigerator for the past few months, forcing me to look at it every single time. Bye, Lisa. Every single time I pass by the refrigerator. Now, I did this background with twinkling H2Os. You can see a little bit of shimmer in here, but most of it was just to kind of block out a background. I just want to paint some of the leaves, and those colors that I used when, let's see where that test canvas is. This wisteria color with that coral and that orange would be really interesting for a fall leaf. I realize it's the wrong season. Maybe somewhere here in these veins, I can pop in some of that neon green. I've been itching to figure out to do something with these 2 colors really badly. I want to do something with these 2 side by side because I think that Viper and the wisteria are so beautiful together. So if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to mix some of the colors. Now I have it set to where I can raise this thing up, but I'm not sure how close we'll be able to go if I raised it up. Here, no, I don't think it'll let me do a zoom for you. So if I'm going to try to get, it's a big panel. If I'm going to try to get this corner, I'm going to have to be really careful trying to paint this. I'll do it last because I don't want to go over it to paint it. I mean, you start from the center out if you're smart, because the last thing we want to do is rub the paint off with my arm. But and if you can see the pattern, there's like, this is one really big leaf down here. It's got a couple sections to it. Same thing here. This has some extra sections to it. So I thought these might be fun to do an experiment on. Again, I'm just trying to find the best camera angle for you. Yeah, but gum arabic, I don't know if you have to put the gum arabic in the Purley pigments, but you can surely do it. Yes, gum arabic, food grade gum arabic and water. You mix equal parts primary elements and food grade gum arabic, and you can make your own watercolors. The glycerin you put in the water, so the paint flows over the top. So I think I'm going to try to pick one of these little ones. Now, this little thing on top can get away with almost being that bright green. But I'm just kind of, I'm so nervous after 18 years. I can't believe I'm actually going to put some paint down on this thing. But, you know, I've got to pick one of these and just kind of let it go. It's time to finish this thing. And I love that those colors that I was playing with. So my instinct is just to use water, okay? But a little bit of just a little bit of binder, because there's gum arabic in there. I'm going to just make quite a bit of this. I don't have it made up in a jar. If you end up making a bunch and you want to save it, leftover jars, I have a few on my table here, but I can't reach over right now to go get them. Not with my back like this. Sorry, I'm kind of gimpy today. It's just really, my back is just kind of angry at me. So here is this, oh, that's Infernal. I want the sea coral. That's the orange. Where is my red? Give me, sorry, sea coral. Oh, here it is. Here is the sea coral. The sea coral, just because it has a little bit of pink in it, it's going to run really nicely into that warm violet. That's why I'm choosing that, right? A couple drops of that. And then the Tango Mango, I think, is going to end up being my favorite color all time for every single thing. I seem to want to pick it up for everything. It's will become my new fast friend peach, right? It blends into anything. I know this is risky, me doing this right on top of the piece. I shouldn't be that dumb, Leslie. Let me get my pieces of puppy pad here. One good way to protect it. Oh, come on, don't get it even on me now. Is laying protection down, right? So like, I don't need to have all of this exposed. I can paint right here and then protect this, or paint right here, or actually this would be a great leaf because it's dead center in front of you guys, right? But then I'll have to go back after this is dry and do the leaves that are a little bit further up. I'm sitting here deciding. I should have really decided ahead of time which part I'm going to do. Really, at the last minute, boy, I could have done those poppies on that canvas. They would have been a lot simpler. Or another, what you call it? I just don't want to get anything on the piece. Get right up here. I guess I'll start with this one right here. There's a leaf right here we can all see. You guys are pretty darn patient hanging with me. So I've just got a few little squirts of my water in there. And the water is 4 ounces of water with just a teaspoon of the art fluid, just to say that I've got a little bit of a binder in there. And one of the tricks of the watercolor painting community is when you want to blend something, you do what's called a rinse, blot, fade. And you basically rinsing your brush, squeezing it off, blotting it off, and then you fan it. So when you see me say rinse, blot, fade, and I'm going to fan, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So, again, I don't know if it's going to work the same way as when we were doing it on the other one. But, and this supposedly is a watercolor canvas ready to accept the colors like a watercolor. Let's see what happens when we add a little water to this and see what it does. First thing normally you do is you'll wet like the whole area. Give it moisture. Water goes where water's been, right? I completely forgot rule number 1 is let wet the section that you're going to paint. And you can just keep moving that color around. I'm only going to paint, and I don't know if these are birch trees. These leaves look like oak leaves. I don't really remember what the packet said. All I know is I was really impressed with the detail of this particular image. So I'm just running some water around here, and I don't care if it's got a little bit of that purple in there. I'm just remoistening the section that we want the color to go, but not the leaf next to it, right? We're just going to get all of this wet. And I got my little purple. I got my pink. Let's see if you guys can see me doing this. And I got my mango tango here. So I'm going to add a little more violet right along the edges. This is that neon color called Wisteria. It's so quiet here. You know, I wish there was a way for the lives for us to hear you guys talk and then answer questions. Because if I'm painting, I can't look at anything. So if you have a question, maybe someone in the audience can answer you. But so anyway, I'm getting some of my dry color down, rinsing my brush, creating a fade. But I also want to drop a little bit of this coral in here and move it around. The thing about the Paulina thing is her colors are welling up in those patterns. And then as it dries, it's creating these beautiful, cool little creases that in the paint, like patterns as it's starting to dry, hard lines. Now, watercolor painters don't particularly like that, but with her particular technique, it lends itself to be a really cool part of the design, right? Now, I don't even need to rinse my brush. I'm going to just go right into the Tango Mango and drop a little bit of that yellow in here. Warm it up. Go right next to where my coral is. So I put them in order where they have a natural blend into one another, right? That coral has enough pink to go into the purple. And yet the coral has enough of a warmth to it, right? And when you make peaches, we know there's yellow in there, to where it's not going to have an issue when it hits this tango mango. I'm having trouble seeing the lines because this piece is so darn deep. This image is very detailed. But so I was worried about how I was going to pick a spot and paint for you, because I need to be able to be right here, appearance looking at it as if I was painting right over the top of it on my table by myself. But hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. It looks like you can see what I'm doing a little bit. So now I'm adding back in some more of the purple on that edge. Get more of a defined design. You can drop it, you can tap it, you can pounce it. Then I'm going to do the rinse. I'm blotting, I'm fanning. Give it a couple seconds. I'm going to start fanning out our darker color into that coral. It's really interesting. This surface is very different than what I remember. I don't know if I had it all wet at the time, but it's not painting quite like watercolor paper. You know, it's supposed to be the Frederick's watercolor canvas, and how it's designed is, let's say you make a mistake. I don't have one here right now, but they made this canvas so if you made a mistake, you can take a paintbrush that's got kind of a rough, scruffy edge. I have one here in my studio, and you push all the color back off and make the canvas white again. That was the beauty of this canvas that they made, right? So like I said, it was brought out in 2005 or 2006. It was a big deal. Everybody wanted to try the Frederick's watercolor canvas. I just happened to be picking up these neons because they're so darn pretty, but any color will work, of course. I know that's a lot of purple, but now see what happens if I want to push that back. I can. I can actually lift off that purple and go back to a lighter area. And you don't really have that option on watercolor paper. You just don't. There's that pink. There's that coral. Let's let it have it fun. What would be fun is to have the edges just be purple and the centers be the pink and the coral. But again, if I feel like there's too much paint in there, mop my brush off and I can lift it up. I don't even know if they sell these anymore. I guess I should have looked in that for you guys. And then if I really want to go all in, and I don't know if this is going to be too strong, but you can after it's done, even though these are leaves, this is not a flower, but say this was a leaf, a flower, you could go in and create like a pod center. Since this is a leaf, I was about to ready to put a center in here, but that would look strange in a leaf. What you can do is after it dries, or even while it's drying, you can still take the end of your brush, kind of identify where the lines of your leaves are going to be, right? But it would be a second brush over after it dries to add the lines. Okay, so hi Donna, how you doing? Just got your new, now I have to order the neons. That's right. It's that time. So let's pick another one. They don't all have to be that color combination. I wanted to do one with kind of a turquoise slash going into the purple. Like instead of it going purple pink and the gold, why not purple turquoise and the gold? I mean, after all, it is mine. So here is the luminous lagoon. It is my painting. I can't believe I'm actually putting something down on this after 18 years. Talk about somebody's stuck in a rut, right? Sorry, trying to put my kahuna in here. It's a little bit thick. You know what I want to do? I'm going to add also a drop of phthalo blue green shade. Well, that was a lagoon. That's cyan aqua. Here, green shade blue, which we know makes turquoise, watery color. Yeah, I'm going to put one drop in here. I don't know what color. It may be way too dark, probably. But I really like, if I'm making cell activator, I love that phthalo blue green shade in the white cell activator. It makes the most beautiful blue-green. Put some of our binder in there. Make sure my brush is clean. Well, that's an interesting blue. Huh. That's actually really pretty. I did not expect that blue, but I'll take it. So let's find another one. There's one here that's going up. Yeah, the process seems tedious because you got to wet everything. Okay, now wait a minute. Rule of thumb, I'm breaking the rules. Wet petals don't go next to wet petals. Okay, so I'm going to do this little leaf up here, just a little tiny one. When we were at the class, we would sit and skip a petal, paint a petal, skip a petal, paint a petal, and then we'd go to a drying table and take a blow dryer and dry the watercolor paper before we went back and we did the next section. So I'm going to wet this leaf here. There's a little bit of that blue left on my thing, but I don't care. That's fine. Just going to grab a tiny bit of this wisteria color. I hear pitter patter in the background. They were trying to get on the table a couple times today, and I just kept turning the blow dryer on them, and they ran. I'm so mean. I'm such a mean mommy. Okay, so let's see what happens if we add a little bit of this blue that I made. It's a little bit darker than I'd like. It's not quite as tealy as I was looking for. It's a little bit darker. That blue-green shade is a little bit much. I just added some more of the lagoon to it to lighten it up. I kind of want that light aqua color. That one's too dark. Now, just to be safe, because I want it washy, I'm going to take a clean cup and that lighter color, put it in the bottom here, right? Dip my brush in some water. Now I got a nice washy turquoise, and I've changed my mind. I want more of a washy turquoise going in there. If that color's still too strong, remember, I have the option to push it off. If I feel that shade of blue is too dark, and then go right back there and reapply a lighter color that I think that will go well. Make sure you guys can still see me here. That will go well with this. Thank you for letting me do this today instead of standing up and painting. Feels pretty good to sit down and actually, I'm rather enjoying this, to be honest. I think it's been a while now. Why I like Paulina's technique is it doesn't let you paint tight. And so I really want to practice that technique of her. And if you, I know John's been putting the links up there. I think they do. They do. Okay, now this I believe is a 16 by 20 panel. This is not a 12 by 12. Thank you for letting me know. Because again, the fact that you can work on a canvas, it is a panel, and they also probably have regular canvases too. They have the sides we're used to, but they were famous, like I said, 18 years ago, coming up with a canvas that you could push the color off and control what you were doing. This is a game changer for people who want to paint. And then doing the patterns is a game changer for people who want to paint. You don't have to worry if you feel like you can't paint or draw. I mean, the drawing can be transferred. Look at that. This yellow turned right to a green when it hit that blue. You knew it would do that. I needed to bleed in the other way, a little bit more of a blossom. There we go, of that yellowy color going into that blue. And they make, I mean, they have smaller ones. Obviously, you don't have to start off something big like this. At the time, I really don't know what it is. I like painting big. Now that's a little bit greener than I'd expected for this particular area. So I'm going to kind of pull some of the green off. I want to maintain that blue that's there. Get a clean brush, rinse it off. Maybe what I should have done is gone with gold on one edge and then added the blue. That way they'll blend into one another, they'll bloom into one another, but it doesn't necessarily need to turn it green. I know these are my fantasy leaves that you're going to find on my piece in my hidden forest. But I kind of don't mind that color with that little bit of, now we're getting green again. With that little bit of purple up here in this edge. To really fix it, I'd have to go olive. By the way, to make an olive, we do have the sap green, we do have the army green, but the other day I wanted to make an olive and out of the neons, and I quickly took the orange. Just want to show you what I did. So I took the orange, 1 drop of orange, and 1 drop of venomous viper. And I came pretty close to it making a kind of an olivey, drabby green, you know, because orange is basically yellow and red, and then the green is yellow and blue. So now that's a little bit too brown, too orangey. A couple more drops of green. See if I can get to kind of a drabby olive color. Not quite. Needs 1 more. It almost needs a real shot of green in it, but I think that might have been what I used. Because I made an olive when I was playing on those canvases. Maybe I used the real green, the full-on green, not the blend. There you go. Now it's funky, funky olive that when mixed with a green, you're going to make a nice olive. Okay. When you're painting, sometimes you want that earthy green. We do have a sap. We do have the hickory. There we go. Now that's olive. Okay. So if I wanted a little bit of olive in here, I could add a little olive green in here if I wanted it. and then changed my mind. I said, no, I don't think I like that olive green. I'll see if I think I like just the mango tango and the blue because I'm liking what's happening here. That blue and that purple as it's drying, it's really pretty. I really like that purple and I love that little purple edge here. So, not sure if I can get some of that blue in here. There we go. Kind of bring it back. I mean, you got to have a little green in there. And oh, it looks like I went outside of the lines. So there we go. We push it back. Boom. Here's kind of that olive color. Where did my olive go? Where did my olive go? Usually I do olive if I've got a bloom of red, not blue in there. That's the first experiment of that. So let's see how this one's dried. So this is dried, okay? So if I wanted to go over with a darker vein, I could stick with the purple. I wish, actually, it's not dry. Did you see what I just did? It's not dry. I was going to teach you something and I forgot I got gloves on. Okay, so when you're checking to see if something's dry, here's a little tip. Fingers will lie. Your fingerprints, you'll put your fingers on something, go, oh, I think it's dry. But the true test is the back of your hand. The back of your hand will feel if it's cool. This is definitely not dry. I mean, it's wetter than wet. I miscalculated. I need to do it to get my blow dryer out here and fix this thing. But I think I'm going to try another one in my blue purple thing. Now I've got one already started here in all the warm colors, right? That was done a long time ago. Let's take this little bit of purple. Oh, I didn't wet it down. Wet the leaf, Leslie. Make sure you wet the leaf. So I'm gonna wet this sucker down. That's giving us all the autumn tones. It's got nice warm oranges and gold in there already. So just a little bit of the purple here on the edge. It's just going to lend itself to where this is already going. This isn't going to need much help. Get a little coral in here. Because no two leaves are alike in nature, right? I mean, of course, when fall comes, it's like this array of glorious color and light. I love it when we get the fall, spectacular colors. It's like the trees are on fire before they go to sleep and say, here we are one last time. Take a look at us in all our glory. And it's almost like a contest on our street, which tree can push out the most beautiful colors. And I'm from Southern California. I never really experienced fall till I moved up here. They actually have fall in Central California because it gets cold enough, right? Let me just brighten that up just a little bit. Now we got one little leaf here, really tiny little leaf. This looks like a new leaf. But it's not spring, so I'm not going to get away with doing a neon green here. It won't look like it belongs. but I probably can get away with doing this little bit of blue I've got here. See, I'm going to try it a different way. If I get the blue down the center and then get my purple up on one end, and then I'm just going to drop that orange in. I don't want to make green. I just want a bloom of orange to pop up and welcome that blue color. Now I've got that little room down here. I can put that yellow in here. It's going to run into the blue, but it doesn't necessarily have to make green. It'll do it or it's not going to do it. But instead of dropping it right into the blue and forcing green, I can give it an option to find its way and stay in that gold family or pick up that green. Add a little bit more violet on the edge there. A lot more than a little came off of that. Yeah, I can't see a word anybody's saying because I'm focusing on the canvas and not on you guys. I apologize. If anybody's saying anything, I can't hear you talk. This is when I really wish there was sound to this live chat. Looks like Disney animation coming to life. Thank you. Well, and they are really muted colors. Thank you. They're really muted from years ago. Now this is kind of, this almost looks like an acorn. I don't really want to mess with it, but it looks a tad orange there. Or could use just a bit more of this corally red. That's nice of you to say. They are pretty muted. They're really muted from before. Oh, come on. Let me fade you in, dude. Sometimes you just have to stop fiddling and let it go. So we got another one peeking out here, out of the other side of the tree. Can you guys see me doing this? Let me scoot this over a little bit. There we go. So you can see this right here. Now, I don't have to do the purple in every one. You know, these are autumn tones. I remember when Sheldon did his piece, his entire leaves were blue, but he did them all blue, and it worked. I mean, that's actually what I was imagining I was going to do to this all these weeks, is come in and kind of paint this cool blue tone, you know, unrealistic but realistic type of leaf. See, oh, I'm liking that. That's just a little bit of that color in there, but it's a little too subtle compared to everything else. So I'm gonna have to add a little bit of something in there. It's like a Disney animation. Who said it was? You mean Paulina's work is like a Disney animation coming to life? I think he's putting in the links to the speed shots. And if you go look at her work, she's just dropping the colors inside of the colors. So beautiful. See if I can get a little coral in this blue one instead of going yellow. Let's add a little bit of coral in here. See, the thing is after the leaves are done, I can go in the background and start painting the background darker so your warmer colors start going forward, right? Then they look more like they belong there. I know, I'm still fiddling with this one. Well, again, that's the cool thing about leaves, especially the leaves out there in the wild. No two are alike. Now, here's something that I should be able to get away with in just doing a green. This just looks like kind of an unopened leaf with a stem coming up. But do I do it in a green? Do I do it in a brown? I feel like I should be doing it in these fall colors that we're doing. I'm going to do a little bit of olive right here just to give it a touch of that olive green. Oops, sorry guys. I hit it with my head. But then this coral will be really pretty with that. I actually like this olive color and that coral together. They're real pretty. Not quite dark enough to really give us some distinctive line. Probably need to go over it after it's dry again to give it more of a detail because it seems kind of faint the way it is. So this is dried in way too light. This one when we just did in the purple and the blue, I don't know if my arm went over the top of it or what happened, but let's add a little bit of color to this. Some of this orangey. Isn't that pretty, that mango tango running into the sea coral? That's such a pretty color combination there. I'm just dropping them in. I'm just kind of dotting them on, pouncing, I guess would be a better term. And having that coral center. No, it's pretty. It looks so much better with that little bit of coral dropped in the middle of it. Hopping around with a watch in her hand. Who is? I'm so late. Where are you going, McGee? Oh, did you just come in, honey? Or did you have to go somewhere because you're running late? Okay, I got these cups here. I kind of got to move this a little bit to get to another section. Give me a sec. Get these guys moved. I want to do this, but this still looks wet there. So there is one here that goes behind it. That's going to be kind of tricky because it's a two-part leaf. Part of it's on the top, right here. And then part of it goes behind because there's another leaf going over the top of it. This is going over the top of it right here. And this is underneath. So I'm going to go with something completely different so they're striking against each other. I kind of like this already has kind of an orange yellow tone. So I'll stick with the coral right where that orange part is, right here. And then add some of my yellow here, my Tango Mango. I'm just dipping my brush into that little bit of Tango Mango on my little water solution. 4 ounces of water and 1 teaspoon of Vivid Art fluid, just so you have a binder. A pouring medium may work too. GAC 800 would work too. You just need some kind of binder. And all of those have a binder in them. Yes, indeed. Wish I could say this was the same color, same leaf, but it's not. So that's going to be a very bright background there. Got to let that dry. And then I can come up with something that I'll put the blow dry on in a minute, but I kind of want to have a bunch of stuff painted before we do that. So here we've got so many of these leaves look like they're sideways and four ways. Like this looks like there's a leaf coming out one end here. What did I just say about binders? I am multitasking. Well, you want to bind any kind of pigment. So now I'm using the Vivid Art fluid, 1 teaspoon of Vivid Art fluid to 4 ounces of water. It is true, if I just take this and drop this stuff on canvas, the first layer on raw canvas is not going to seem to lift. And oh my God, this is really turning out nice. And then I just drop those colors and leaving it alone. That I'm loving. This one right here. Wow. The Mango Tango and the Coral. Oof, I'm leaving that one alone. Wish they could all turn out like that. So let's pick another one to play with. Here's another one over here. I'm picking these little oddball ones on the edges that just need to be touched up. This kind of has a beigey tone to it already down. I don't know if you could, oh, you guys can't see me paint over it because of the angle I've got it. Darn it. Let me see if I can move this slightly for you guys. And see me drop color in this. So I'm really liking that coral dropped on a Mango Tango. Getting a nice look here. This is what this whole practice is going to do to, I mean, I haven't painted this. Obviously, it's been 18 years since I put any color on this board, but this is really fulfilling. Now it makes me want to paint those other ones that I already have sketched out. Get my little confidence back here. Seeing what these things are doing. Look at that coral in that yellow. That is absolutely stunning. Yes. You can use 800 or Liquitex. Anything that's got a little bit of binder to it, take a teaspoon and mix it with some water. Mix it with 4 ounces of water and a teaspoon of some kind of binder. Gum Arabic, you could, but you know, it's almost unnecessary. I am really loving that. I'm liking that this is that same color's kind of flowing through here. I'm going to do that on a few of those. This color combination is a great, especially the oddballs. Like here's another little oddball. Hopefully you guys can see this. My canvas is having a little struggle here. Yeah, but here's a little oddball, little leaf just popping up out of nowhere. Now, one thing I could do, of course, is break out some of the golden maple or the nickel gold. But I am going to, since I have one with blue and I have some blues in here, I am going to have a few leaves in here that are going to end up being edged with the blue eventually. But for a little variety, God, I got something on the something dumped on the bottom of this. Look at my golden nickel. My golden nickel is like a nickel as a gold. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit in the cup. Get myself a drop. This stuff. Now the first batch runs of this stuff is real thick. My guy in the lab told me that the next round of color he got to make the nickel as a gold wasn't quite as thick. So those of you ordering it, here's a little bit of, so if I need that warm autumn brown, this is I brought the label off. This is the golden nickel, which is basically your nickel as a gold color. And it'll come handy with playing with olive and with the corals and the yellows and the blues. So since I have it out, I can use this on one end, right? Automatically is going to go right to that rusty orange we're used to. But don't be fooled on how beautiful it will look with a coral. Obviously, it's going to lend itself to loving that coral color. And then even a dab of purple can be dropped in there, purple and orange. Here's the coral. Give it a bit of a personality here. Who said it was like Disney animation coming to life? It is kind of crazy how the colors are coming to life. I am still very much in love with this one. How it just kind of weirdly took form without much push. Try to get all this over to you guys so you can see it. I'm just trying to keep the puppy pad down so I have something to wipe on, and then to keep me from getting into other, like I got this one a little bit dirty. I got some color in there. Gonna have to let this dry. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab my gun, my little blow dryer, hold on to your ears. I just want warm air. I don't want to blow it off, right? I mean, that's not completely evaporated, of course, and I'm not going to waste your time doing that, but it doesn't help to speed it up a little bit. Now, here's one over here that's waiting to get a little love on it. Now, the one behind it is the orange. My instinct is to paint the one behind it, warm it up, let it dry. And then this leaf over top will be blue, but I don't think we have that much time to wait, to be honest. So I'm taking a little bit more of the Pure Lagoon, that luminous lagoon. Just a little bit. I know I keep pushing this whole idea of the blue. It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. Actually, this is kind of more on the green teal side. Okay, let's get my brush cleaned off. Clean water. Let's put some clean water on this leaf. So just this leaf will accept the paint, not anything else around it. It's weird. She's got these leaves so close because there's a leaf here and there's a leaf here. John, thank you so much for asking people to hit the. Everybody needs to thank John, our moderator. He just got elected by accident one day when I asked him to put up Paulina's links. And he's a total sweetheart for jumping in and helping. So most grateful for Sparky. That's his nickname. He used to be in the business of lighting. Sparky. So that's his nickname. Hey, you can't say anything without light, man. I'm grateful to anybody that brings light to our world. So thank you to all the beautiful lighting people in the world. It's weird. I'm not painting this other side of the leaf. Like there's something behind it, some brown foliage behind it, and I'll leave it brown. And then our greeny turquoise leaf will stand out on top of the foliage underneath. Weird. I should have really stared at the drawing a little bit. I mean, it's been years since I've actually taken that drawing out and stared at it, see where everything is. I'm just going on what I painted before. Yeah, and it looks like this leaf is on top of this leaf, which goes here to here. And I'm going to leave that. I'll make that a rusty golden nickel color after it dries. Let me drop just a tiny bit of the purple just on the edges here. So there's some sort of similarity. And then I've taken my brush, rinsed all the excess, squeezed all the excess water out. And I'm just trying to fade that violet into that blue a little bit. So it looks a little bit more natural. And then drop. If I can get away with it, I'm going to try it one more time. Drop some of this yellow in here. This Tango Mango, I know it's going to make it green. I'll take out some of the green by adding some coral. Seeing if I don't like it. Same thing I was doing before. That's one thing I like about that watercolor canvas. I can change my mind and say, nope, I want more purple and blue. Nope, I don't want all that green. Unless it's a really funky foliage purpley green. And then here's some of that blue back in. We'll see what it does after it dries. But it's different. It makes it different. Okay, so this is, oh gosh, you guys, thank you. Here I'm worried about letting everybody down because I'm not doing resin. Oh, this looks dry. Looks like I can touch that. This looks dry. Thank you. It's fun. Now I gotta skip this because that one's wet. This one's still a little bit dry, but this is dry. So I can almost do this leaf. I guess I just don't want to do these two big prominent ones in here and then keep rubbing my arm back and forth over the top. Maybe I can do some of these veins. So the veins, I've got these white veins. They look like leaves and branches. So instinct is to turn it so I don't put my elbow right there. And turn this just a little bit. See if I can move this around. Uh-oh. My little thingy in the back wants to come off. Let me see if I can turn this around just a little bit. Here we go. Hey there. Yeah, I don't want to rub over this, so I'm going to do these little stems and leaves and stuff. Now I've got my olive. Let me get these little cups down. I've got an olive color. I got a golden nickel color. I got the peachy tone, which will look pretty on any of those veins. I'm dying to get venom green in there, but I still don't see any place where the venom green's going to go. I just don't. I'm going to start with just taking these little stems here. Club question. When you order a second card, is the amount left? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. We stack them right on top, and the code stays the same, darling. The code stays the same. So if you're, let's say you're Donna 500, but you put another 250 on, and there was 750 on your card, your code will still be the original Donna 500. That's not going to go away. The code stays the same, and we just keep adding to the balance and deducting from the balance as you buy stuff. It's me that's doing it right now manually, but finally stumbled on two little softwares that's going to keep track of that for you guys. We'll get it installed next week. And then the 10% code thing, we finally figured that out. That'll get installed. So then we got the members set up, and then all we have to do is now create the secret page, the place where the members go. So you can click that box and say, please add the sample, this week's secret sample, to my order. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking these veins, and I broke the rules. I didn't do it right and get them wet first. You're supposed to wet your area with water first. Now adding a little green in here is going to be good because this background has been, it's all brown. It's neutral tones. Now I am dying. I'm dying to do this. You guys can laugh at me now. Laugh at me later. I want to see what the neon looks like. That venomous. What did you mean? What did you try? What did you try, sweetheart? Try again? You mean to use your card or get a card? I'm the one that'll add your balance. So as soon as you place that order, of course, Victoria, I was a couple days later, and I got Victoria's balance updated this morning. I go in and do your balances. Yeah, yeah. He's right. You can order as many as you want and stack them. Okay, so now this is really, 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 really green. But I just got to see what it looks like. See? With that olive and that little bit of the venomous viper. Ooh, look how pretty that is. I don't mind how bright that is at all. I know it's a little bright, but hey, look how pretty that is. So I'm wetting the lines. I'm putting, now this one, I have still olive on my brush. Now I'm adding a little bit of the golden nickel to my brush with the olive. See how it blends in real quick. It picked it up. But I'm going to blot my brush off. Right, I don't need that much paint. And then I'm going to drop some of this venomous viper right into that golden nickel. Oh yeah. And that makes even a tertiary olive. Oh, the golden nickel and the venomous viper. Look at those. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm liking that. Because that little pop of lime Makes it stand out. Now I can tone this down a little bit by just putting in a tiny bit of the golden nickel in that. Look how I did that. And it said overbalance. Oh, no, 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 no. You tried to buy something that said you over your balance because you probably have to have a balance updated for me, or I don't know, sweetheart. I will call you as soon as the event is over, Donna. Trying to help everybody this holiday weekend before we get it all kicked off, right? So happy to help you with whatever your dilemma is. Here's another one that has a little pointy stemmy things that need a little color here. So let's take some of that nickel Wazzle gold. It's called golden nickel in the Purley Pigments. Oh, I don't want it going into that area down there that's not quite dry. And then I'm going to pick up the pure venom, because the venomous viper running into that golden nickel. That is such a pretty color combination. All I am is adding it, and this is how I'm making it. Okay, so I want to make more of the venom. 2 drops. Oh, that went to 4 drops. That's going to make a lot. Put some of my Kickapoo Joy Juice here. 1 teaspoon of Vivid Art Fluid, 4 ounces of water. I got my Kickapoo Joy Juice here. And bam, I can start adding this really cool neon viper green. Oh my God, that is so pretty. Look at that running up into that gold. I don't hate it, not in the least. I'm digging that. I want to do that combination all over the damn board now. Can't help myself. This is addicting. I thought, oh, I'll paint 1 leaf or 2. My back's really bugging me. Guess what? My back's not bugging me as much as I thought it was. And this is what people call me on the phone and say to me when they paint. They don't hurt as bad. They forget how much they hurt when you sit down and you do something with color. Because, you know, color releases dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, endorphins. Okay, so there's that nickel. That's that golden nickel. I'm going to drop some of the venomous viper in here. Of course, it's mostly filled up with the golden nickel, but let's get a little bit of that green in there. There we go. Makes it much more interesting. It's making a beautiful olive where it's coming together. And yeah, I'm see if we got some areas that are dry enough now where there's a couple more leaves that I can paint. I'm going to get these bottles out of the way so I can turn this around. Okay, so we don't want to move these too much. These are really, really wet. Let's see if I can do something on the opposite side over here. There's some stemmy things up here, stemmy things up here, some more stem things here. Just letting all the rest of this dry before I do some of these bigger leaves. So this is dry. Okay, good. And this is a clean side of a puppy pad. I'm kind of laying on top just to be safe that I'm not accidentally transferring color that I don't want there. So I've got 2 little stemmy, veiny areas here that I'm looking at. Now this looks like this is part of this leaf, so I can't go completely nickel wazzle gold on it. It's going to look strange on this stem. I'm going to start with the venom first. And then if I add just a dash of that gold, see, now it's turning my venom and softening it out to something looks like it actually belongs to that. Same thing here. This is going up to this leaf here, so we can't have it too different. I'll add a little nickel as a gold to this vein here. Just kind of drop it in. Looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, so now that I'm back here doing this, remember this one that I painted before and I left really light? Now that I'm into this groove with the venom and the golden nickel, I'm going to touch this up with some of this green and golden nickel. Venomous Viper and golden nickel. Nice combination for fall, olivey, greeny. Nickel as a gold color. Now it's a little bit too green. I think it needs just a tiny bit more warmth. Add a tiny bit more warmth. There we go. There we go. Now that looks, I like the green in the vein, but the petal needs to have some more warmth to it, like it's belonging there. This is kind of interesting. I'm not hardly seeing what anybody's saying, and I'm just sitting here painting and talking to myself. As far as I know, you guys might already be off. I think it need to be invited to what? Oh. Yeah, we need to invite people to the Art of Color Club. That's what Sorceress is talking about. I just need to sit down and one day, I should probably do it sometime this weekend, and just have to sit and invite everybody's email address that's in the founding members. Sorry, honey. It's just been lack of time and stuff going on here. It's just getting set up. I haven't filmed anything yet for it yet. You haven't missed much, but still, that's part of the deal, and we want to get you guys in there so you can talk to one another. Okay, now I went outside of the lines here a little bit, so I'm going to clean up my edges here. Just ever so slightly. I don't have a scrubby brush, so I'm going to have to get my paintbrush to behave like that. See how I'm pushing that in? Pushing that color in, pushing that color in, and then I can take what's left on the inside and kind of spread it out. Because we don't want to, some people like to color outside of the lines. I do at times. Not always, but I do at times. So let's see if we got any more of these funky. See, now I made these branches that color, but these branches it's probably a little bit insane green gold for the branches up here. All right, what do we got to do on this side? Just trying to let that body dry. So here's some nickel Wazle gold. I'm not really getting into doing the trunks yet, but as it's blending in, we want to make sure like it looks like it all belongs. Now, I've got these little veiny things that are coming up here. And I could get away with doing them in the nickel Wazle gold, which means I need a little bit more of my cup. Doesn't take much, and my batch is really super thick. I have to scrape some off of my thing to use it. And then my Venomous Viper, I'm almost out of what's in my cup here. Add a tiny bit more of that. Couple drops. Sure doesn't use much paint to do this though. And then I'm just squeezing a little bit in each cup just so it's moist. Because I'm adding so much water with my paintbrush, right? I'm wetting my brush almost every single time. Okay, so we got this area over here. Let's see if you guys can see this area here. I want to paint right here, okay? All right. See how well you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, I have a little bit of the nickel as a gold already on my brush, and I'm wetting that whole area with it. So I'm wetting just this section here. By the way, there's a little leaf here that will eventually have to get hit. Now, since I've already got some nickel as a gold or that golden nickel down in there, I'm just going to disperse some of it in here along one side. Just kind of warm it up. And then I'm going to add some of our venomous viper in here, but mine's really, really washy and it's already tainted with the gold. It's already making kind of an olive viper for me, the color that it's making for me. That's an oopsie. We don't want an oopsie there. Ooh, I'm liking that color. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Wow. It's almost just, I just got it slightly wet, dropped some of the nickel as a gold in there and dropped some of this viper in there. And it's like turned into its own color. And because I had the background shaded with all that dark color, I can't move it and show you just yet. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see until I turn it. But that's very exciting. Now I'm going to transfer it down a little bit so it looks like it becomes part of the tree. I don't want it looking too disjointed. And now I got my big brush here. Got my really big brush that I can just kind of move it across and blend it in with. Lightly blended. I don't want that leaf right there waking up, so I'm trying to do anything I can around it because I have another branch here. Damn it, it's a little bit wet around it. Got this branch here that could stand. God, I don't know how much I'm able to show you guys this. Can you guys see this one section? Okay, it's kind of wet on wet. I'm not really liking that I did that. Let me get this because it's blooming here. I kind of want to leave a straighter edge. I can always stipple and blend this color in later. I'm going to drop some of this olivey green, this viper green with that golden nickel. God, that's such a pretty color combination. So this branch stands out. Now here's a couple more. I'm going to lay down a little bit of the lime green first, and then I'm just going to go over with a tiny bit of the nickel as a gold to warm up the venomous viper. And see how that just makes those little branches kind of blush with color? I'm a little worried about losing my detail here, though. This is a little bit wet. I'm going to have to keep babysitting this area. I broke the rule and got wet too close to wet. What I can do afterwards, once this is completely dry, I'll be able to put a shadow line back here so it'll push that branch forward. Okay, let's see if we can turn this thing around and do a couple of the leaves in front. Let me take a look at my time. How long have we been doing this exercise? Oh, it's really interesting. It's waking up. Do you use Purley pigment? I'm making a watercolor out of it, Anne. I'm actually creating a watercolor out of it. It's crazy. I'm putting them, because Anne just joined us, so I'm putting a drop of the Purley pigments in the cup. I've got a bottle with 4 ounces of water and a teaspoon of the Vivid Art fluid. That's this stuff. This is just a bonder. It'll bind it to the surface. You only need a teaspoon to a full 4 ounces of water. And then I'm using that as my little binder. I'm squirting in the cup, taking my paintbrush, and we're just watercolor. Now, this is a Frederick's watercolor canvas. It's meant to be painted with watercolors. It is designed to also remove color. If you've got color somewhere and you need to remove it because you've got too much or it needs to be blended, you can actually lift color up off this canvas very easily. So it's interesting how that area is taking shape with those branches behind it. How long are we on? We're on 95 minutes. Hopefully you guys don't mind hanging with me. Now, is this dry enough? Feels like it. This also feels dry enough. I may be able to get away with doing this one and this one. Okay, but what colors are we going to do? It is starting to come to life. It really is. So what, I mean, I've already got a blue in here, already got a blue in here. I know I'm playing with the purple and the pink. I think I need to do another one just like this one over here that's just the peach and the yellow, even though this is a really big leaf to do that one on. This may need to be more green, kind of like those. At this point, it's like, what do you do to fill in your options? So I'm going to just start getting water on this leaf as I think about what colors I'm going to use. I do like that peach blooming into that sea coral. That's a color, that sea coral color blooming into the mango tango mango. But I think a little bit of the neon green on the tip might also be interesting. So let's try this. We're going to go with the sea coral at the top. Kind of got my shape here. Now we're running right up against the leaf that we just painted that's dry. Pretty interesting. Now I want to drop a little bit. Now this is really wet, so watch, I'm just going to drop a drop. That's kind of the Paulina technique. She's literally just dropping it in. I didn't take my brush. I dropped 2 drops of the tango mango in there, kind of how Paulina does it. And then I'm just kind of move it in to the area I've already wetted. But then look what happens if we add just a drop. Now this has a tiny bit, it's not the pure venomous viper anymore. There's a little bit of the golden nickel in there. Oh, that's really pretty. That's going to make this really pop. This is going to be a central focus leaf. It's really going to pop with color for us. Kind of filling in these little veins. I think this needs a tiny bit more of the pink to kind of play with how bright everything else is. Ah, like sunglasses art. John just gave us a sunglass warning. Oh, that's a really interesting combination there because the Tango Mango mixing into that yellow, it actually looks pretty realistic. Just gonna let it soften on its own and just kind of pat it. Come on, don't lift any color up for me. I want you to stay right where you are. Just muddle for me a little bit, will you? Muddle, muddle, muddle. Okay, we need a little bit more Tango Mango in our Tango Mango. I know I'm offside here mixing them up just because I don't really want to mix them up on the canvas. Oh, thank you, Janelle. That's very kind of you, honey. Janelle's been watching on her big TV. I know sometimes it's fun to watch it on the TV. I can't believe I'm brave enough to do this. I've been scared to death, like I said, staring at this thing on my wall for weeks because I pulled it out of the bedroom, stuck it right up against the refrigerator, and made myself look at it every time I walked by in the kitchen. Saying, you will paint this someday. Oh, okay. And then when I saw how pretty the Purley pigments were dropping on the canvas when I was trying to do that Polina technique, I went, okay, now we got to try this. All right, we got some colors mixed up. Make sure I got plenty of everything. We're going to do this one next. I really should have done it first because I don't want to do it on the top. I think because we got red. See, a blue would work there only because they would really pop with one another. But let's try. Did I get the leaf wet? I keep breaking the rules. Getting that leaf wet first with a little bit of water. It's really weird shape leaf. She put a lot of detail right in this section of the drawing. See if I can get just a dap of blue in here. Get that to do something. Because we know those two colors next to one another will be really pretty. Orange and blue is always gorgeous. What happens if I add a little bit of this in there? Add a little golden nickel. Give us more of that earth tony, browny. Needs to be different than my regular leaves around it. Now, let's see what happens if I try to blend these things together. Just try to give it a little bit of a little dap. It's weird because there's a branch coming down right here. And I think this is where the leaf actually ends. It's a strange little shaped leaf. Yeah, don't make mud, Leslie. I must say, it's pretty nice knowing we have this ability to remove something if it looks too dark, right? If it doesn't look like it belongs, I can go back and make my leaf more purple. I don't know, this is just an odd shaped section here. And it was a leaf going on top of, whoa, way too much purple. A leaf going on top of another leaf. I don't know. Can I actually make mud? Ways to make mud when working with Purley pigments. Actually, some of that green can go, and some of that nickel azo gold can come back because that'll be an acceptable color for a leaf. And if I'm smart, I'll just quit overworking it and see how this thing dries. Because at a point, you just kind of don't want to overwork it. Now, what's weird is earlier it looked like this leaf ended right here, but I've got a little patch here that's saying not so much. So I feel like I need to fill this in to complete this little part of this leaf that we did. Okay, got to leave that alone in the middle because I really overworked it. I'm thinking this is turning out really interesting. A little bit of a hard blush between that peach and that green. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of coral in here. I mean the golden nickel. So it blends right into that coral. Looks a little bit more realistic. Let's see, what did we make this? Hello. Hey, Sandy Sanders, how you doing? Yep, we're playing with a watercolor canvas that I started 18 years ago at the watercolor class that I took in Society of Decorative Painters in 2006. I came home and took a pattern that I had bought at the show and started this. So this little leaf right here, oops, we're getting to where you can't see me now. This little leaf right here, I think we're going to do in the golden nickel venomous green. Now this venomous isn't quite venomous anymore because there's a little bit of golden nickel that got mixed in it, but it'll bleed in. Oh, look at that. Lay down that yellow and then just drop the golden nickel next to it and watch it flow in there. This is so much fun. I'm learning as I'm going what these guys are going to do, what these colors are going to do, how they're going to behave with one another. I mean, that's kind of the cool part of this. Same thing here. I got another leaf behind a leaf. So there's no reason why I can't put, because the lime is going to pop against that purple. And if I add a little bit of nickel azo gold up here, they'll blend into one another. So venomous viper and golden nickel is quickly becoming my little filler color in all these little sections. What do you guys think? Yeah, it's a watercolor panel. Fredericks 18 years ago, 18, 20 years ago, Fredericks came out with a line of canvases and apparently still have them. This was a canvas panel and it's a watercolor canvas and it's meant to actually remove color. It's pretty cool for beginners who want to paint. And then if you don't like what you're doing, you just kind of scrub the color off and add more, right? So I'm going to turn this one into a little bit too yellow now. So let's see, let's get some sap green. Can I find my sap green? I had it pulled. I had all those greens pulled. from, I have the Swamp Monster. The hickory may be too dark. Hickory, by the way, hickory leaf is a very, 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 very dark green. It'd be something we'd be using in the background to kind of make those areas pop. Now that I've talked about it, I'll have to show you, but it's a different green than I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, it was a lab accident. It was supposed to be a brown, turned out to make the most beautiful green. And where's all those little cups? I'm looking for another little cup. I have a whole stack of them here somewhere. Here they are. Want to be able to, so the hickory, and again, I brought it up, so you guys might as well see it. It was supposed to be a brown. It's a hunter gray green. And I don't know if it's going to fit this piece, but I might as well put a little something in it so we can explore what that hickory leaf does. Now I've got some swatches here to paint this on. Even though this is not watercolor paper, it is cardstock. See, now I want you to see how dark this is. This is not really filling what we're doing, but look how dark this green is. It's almost like a black emerald, right? So if I was doing a different type of palette, that might be a color I could put in here in this woodsy brown area to try to darken it up. But I don't want to take us off track with the colors that we're using. Right now we're using more warm fantasy botanical colors, but that is kind of a gray green. Hey there, Sharon McCabe is here. Better late than never, always. Always, always, always. Better late than never. Okay, so then the Swamp Monster, here I've been constructing my own olive green, but the Swamp Monster was this color that came in set 3 that is this crazy olive green. Oh, olive. I don't have a test paper here. Where's my test paper? Got to make sure it's going to work with what we're doing. Not bad. Okay. It is kind of a dirty army green, but when mixed with my lime, it should be fine. So yeah, it's still a little bit, Swamp Monster's a little bit dirty. I'm going to put a tiny bit of the bright green in it just to brighten it up a bit. Same thing with my Venomous Viper. I got a lot of nickel azul gold in that Venomous Viper. That's a bright green. That's a really bright green. But with that olive and those other colors, it doesn't look bad here on this background foliage color. Oh. So I am tempted to stop here. And can the watercolor mix be, I don't know. I don't know. I've been putting my thing in there and doing it, but that's a good point. I don't know because I'm doing such tiny little batches. Let me see if I've got one from, oh, this is still wet. This is still wet. I'm looking for one that might be from around from a couple days ago. This is from a couple days ago, but I don't know if I actually put the Vivid Art fluid in it. I mean, I'm getting color, so it's possible. I love that I can wash these and reuse these, wash and reuse them over and over and over. They're just a little dessert cup, so I don't have to toss them out. I'm not going to waste the plastic. They're really great for custom mixing cups and making your own colors, right? I'm going to put a little bit of that golden nickel in this green while it's still wet. So, question for all you guys. Everybody's, how many people are still here? We got 26 people here. So, what do you think? Yeah, I got to say, if you, and then these little containers may or may not work, you might find something better. They're very hard. They clean up. I wash and just restack them, but uh, I don't know. Even the little sound where I'm getting them mixed up, I know I'm getting them mixed well. Uh, I kind of want to finish this tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys will show up if I do this tomorrow. And maybe we'll have something else that we can do tomorrow. But at this point, I'm going to let this dry. We're at 115 minutes, and I'm sure other people have other things they want to do on a Friday. Okay, little bit of business. Yes, you can stack the cards. Uh, Again, we're really close to getting that membership done. So those 40%, 50% off cards are going to be replaced with 8, 12, and 15% off cards if people want to start buying their way up to the membership. And then the founding membership will be locked. All the founding members will get their 10%. If you have something in your stash that's 40%, your 10% code is not going to work with it. The website's going to go to whatever the greater discount is for you first. But eventually, those 40% off cards you guys are buying now, they're all that will go away as you're buying all your goodies. So, but yeah, we're getting really close to getting the private page made. We're creating a private page where you log in and it'll just say go here members only. It'll remember you, or you just put in your email address. That's going to be the way to add the sample to your order instead of putting some kind of code in at the end of checkout that's too hard to remember. It'd be easier just go to members area, click on it, add it to your cart, and it prints it on your paperwork. And then the 10%, I almost have all you guys loaded into the founding members. I'm about 80% done. We got to get all the phone numbers in there because we're setting up an SMS text system so we can also communicate with you guys. So the deal is in the next few days, if you want to get the free gift that goes with the neons, buy your neons before Tuesday night because Wednesday morning they're officially shipping. And yes, Victoria, you'll notice by then the individuals will also be up then by probably Wednesday or Thursday. And then the card codes, I'll give you a little bit of warning, but don't think those fat discounts are going to be up there much longer. It's not sustainable. I know I keep saying that. What else is up there? Vivid Art Fluid's back in stock, as you guys know, because I'm using it because we were out of stock for a while. Anyways, have a beautiful day. Send mine first. Yes, ma'am. Sandy's wants her sent first. See you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is Leslie Ohnstad signing off, and I'm so grateful you guys could join me. Have a beautiful day, and hugs and kisses.